my gosh. In motherhood. We're going to go again, and it's about where we are on the scale of consciousness, where we hang out on the scale of consciousness. Are you guys familiar with it? So lean back, hang out with me. If you have 5 minutes, you're going to learn a whole lot about different emotional states and frequencies, and hopefully it will help you next time you have a strong, sticky, recurring emotion, where it comes from, how to understand the messages of your emotions, and how to have emotional freedom by tuning into something bigger than you, by actually expanding your energy in your heart and actually becoming taller, higher than what you feel is your limit. You know, I actually woke up this morning. This is like how I wake up this morning, and I'm thinking, this is the thought I had. I don't know if people are going to resonate on my page. I thought, because I when I wake up, I go into this bubble of light above my head, and I go up to source, and I kind of meet with God or source energy, and then I pray and I ask for a blessing and things, and then I come back into my space. And I thought, gosh, it's still not taught. Like, this vertical connecting to source is still not taught enough to all of us, really, and it's not spoken about, and it's not facilitated, so that and I thought, how horrid must it feel to spend an entire life feeling like your flesh, your body is all there is, you know, like that this is all there is, when there is an incredible amount of beauty and wisdom and just prosperity and wealth and love and approval and recognition from connecting to something bigger than you feel you're able to connect to by just using your mind or using touch or using the body. You know, there's a whole world of energies and like even connecting to trees and plants, and even being able to communicate with pets, connecting to pets beyond, like, obviously telepathically, but it's like, anyway, if you're interested in that type of conversation, then you definitely found the right person. And today I'm going to help you kind of feel into where you may be constricted in your heart center. And it's kind of on theme these days because there is a free, like, we're going to go deeper into this next week. I'll walk you through a process to move up the scale of consciousness, and it's really, really important. So let me show you the scale of consciousness. And I'm curious to see if anyone resonates with waking up and being like, can I just be beyond, like, can I be bigger than this body? Can I move out of this 3D flesh full of desires and dissatisfaction, and nothing's ever enough, you know? And there's so much fear in the body. It's like, not like, oh, I'm afraid he's going to break up with me. Like, it's like deep animalistic instinctual fear of survival, like that splenic fear. The body lives in it all the time, you know, it's just in it. So when you move out of it, you move up out of fear. Okay, so here's the scale of consciousness. It's by Dr. Hawkins. So he was able to measure through muscle testing and different methods that certain people have certain feelings and emotions, and actually even belief systems that will lock them down into a specific number and like a specific frequency. So my question to you, beautiful friend, is where have you been hanging out on the scale of consciousness lately, in the last couple months? Where have you been hanging out on the scale of consciousness? And this is kind of why I wore this shirt, because this covers all the emotions, all of these colors. And there is absolutely no judgment. It's for you to see where you have been on the scale of consciousness. It's just awareness, okay? So where have you been hanging out? Down here is shame, unworthiness, powerlessness, despair. Underneath that is death, guilt, insecurity, apathy, lack of interest, depression, grief, fear, desire. FYI, I talk about this as often as I can and as much as I can, is whenever you yourself feel shame, like deep, intense shame, there's a high likelihood that the following thought is going to be, I want to die. Okay? I just want people to have awareness around that. Teenagers who are constantly shamed. Look at this guy. Wait, can you guys see him? He's flying. Wait. Oh man, that was fast. Hang on. He's going so fast. Yeah, you can see him here. He just flew right above the house. So a lot of people do I don't know what it's called in English. They fly with those things. Parapente is in French, but I don't know what it is in English. So anyway, it's very normal for anyone who feels shame to then want to go down the death and die. Okay, it's a very normal thing. It's written right here. So I've experienced suicidal ideation after very shameful events. Okay, but then I was sitting in my basement when it happened, and I realized that I was having the thought I want to die just because I was on the scale of consciousness at 20, and the next one down is death. So it's unfortunately why, people will commit suicide, is because they feel so much unworthiness and shame and powerlessness and despair. This is why it's important to know about the scale of consciousness, to have some kind of background on emotional intelligence, because if you know how to validate someone's strong emotional wave as a friend, if you know how to validate their wave, if you know how to actually agree with them, they will move up the scale of consciousness. They're going to move up. Maybe they'll go up to anger, which is much better. Somebody who feels anger is a lot less likely to commit suicide. Okay, you guys, because they're all the way up here. It's when they're really, really in apathy and they feel like, depression is 50. So I want to talk about this not for next week, but I always mention that because I don't think people know about this enough. And it's not like something to be afraid of. It's not something to like, it's just something to be aware of, that suicidal ideation comes on the heel of a lot of shaming and a lot of shame. Okay. It is a feeling that can be accepted, that can be embraced, that can be released, that can be validated for someone else. So if you talk to a friend who feels a lot of unworthiness, it's like you can hold space for them to process that. You can actually learn how to do this without having to be a certified therapist in any way. You can actually learn how to validate emotions even for kids, that will liberate them from their sticky recurring emotion. Okay, there's a way to exchange with somebody who's having a strong emotional wave, so they actually in minutes move on. And even if like you guys want to improve your relationships, you do this for your partner, it's incredible. You do this for your sister, you do this for your mom, it's incredible. They will literally be like, what? You just validated my feeling. You actually agreed with the way that I feel. And then people actually snap out of the feeling when they feel validated. So anyway, just wanted to share that. Just to share, one time I talked about this with a client. This was back a few years ago, and he had two twin girls, and they were little, like, 4 or 5, and they were in the back of his car. And I guess he needed to take them somewhere, like he had something to do and he needed to have them be cooperative. And one wanted to go to the pool and one wanted to go to McDonald's. And they both wanted separate things that were completely not on the way. And you got two little girls in the back of your car, and you're like, single dad driving the car, and it's like, how do I find some kind of peace without having to do one or the other, because either one were not on the map. How do you help somebody agree that they can't have what they want without turning it into a tantrum or into like chaos? And I said to him, this thing that I had been learning and using with my own child, which was incredible, is that you just validate. So he told his one daughter, oh, you want to go to the pool? You really want to go to the pool? Yes, Daddy, I really want to go to the pool. You want to swim? Yes. You want to put your bathing suit on? Yes. Oh, and you want to swim with me? And he just entertained and validated her desire. And she just never mentioned it again. He was able to do his thing. Same thing with his other daughter. Oh, you want to go to McDonald's? What do you want to get? Nuggets and fries? And he validated. Both girls went to the meeting without any issue with the dad. Nobody got to go to the pool. Nobody got to go to fast food, because they both felt validated.
And just take a second to read the feedback I received from the dad. And Daniel Dove is my spiritual name. It's Alix's spiritual name. It's me.
It is so liberating to know that if somebody wants something and you cannot give it to them, you don't have to actually say no. I mean, you're saying no in a way, right? So my son's been the one I've done this on forever. And it's like, whenever he wants something that I just can't give him. You know, it's like, oh, you really wanted to play another hour of this video game? Really? What did you want to do on it? Tell me about it. People are looking for connection. They're looking to feel seen and recognized and heard. They're not technically looking for anything outside themselves, you know? All right. So where have you been hanging on the scale of consciousness? Tell me below. And what is the source of sticky recurring feeling? So wherever you're on the scale of consciousness, you may be like, I have been there before. I have visited this very sticky shadow before. This isn't new for me, right? You want to kind of allow yourself to realize you're the common denominator with anybody. So if you keep dating the same kind of man, if you keep having the same kind of job, if you keep feeling disappointed because you're posting online and no one's showing up to work with you, that is a common, you are the common denominator across all of this. And it's a common sticky recurring feeling. The reason I keep saying that is because if you can name the feeling, you can do some work on this recurring feeling, find out how old you are when you first felt this feeling, go talk to the inner child. You're going to like empty that very full balloon. You're going to just empty it. It's going to be flat. Okay. And then you're going to be able to actually become a match for a complete 180. Complete 180. So if you feel like, oh, I'm always experiencing this sticky, recurring, familiar feeling around money, there's never enough, or I'm afraid I'm going to have lack. Okay, that's one feeling, validate, feel, do some work on it, and then be like, I wonder what if I could do a 180 and end up on the other side of that. What would it be like with money? What would it be like to feel that and be a match for that? Because the good news is if you're a match for this all the time, the law of attraction is working for you. You can just become a match for this over here. And that's really like, if you guys ever see some of the testimonials I get for people and they're like, how did she manifest all of that quickly? It's because they know how to go from one thread of energy to another. It becomes more accessible the more you do this emotional work. So if you're wanting to have more prosperity, more money, more clients, the number one thing I would still recommend across the board in order to become a better manifester is learn how to really pivot out of a sticky recurring feeling, not bypass it, not ignore it, go in it, learn to speak the language of your emotion and grasp and understand what's going on behind it. Okay. I was just live with Julia in the Sales Angel Heart group call. I don't know if you guys didn't get around to watch it, but she's been leaving me like voice notes on Instagram just because she bought my VIP option for Sales Angel Heart, and we've been just exchanging. And I heard something in her voice about not being able to manifest clients at the moment or the last 6 months. And we've been exchanging. I wanted to help her because she manifested 4 discovery calls in 1 week since signing up with me, and she hadn't manifested any in 6 months. Okay, so that's like pretty awesome. Cool magic, right? Cool alignment. And I heard in her voice that there was a lot, there was an identity, there was actually an archetype that didn't want Julia to make money as a coach. Okay, it was very clear to me that the voice was there, the intention was there. So yesterday, you guys can all go in Sales Angel Heart and actually watch how I did it. Is I guided her down into her subconscious, which was very accessible, awake. She just was completely awake with me. She wasn't in hypnosis. And we decided to allow herself to manifest clients. She had 3 parts come up. She went from feeling like making money as a coach was just a wish, just a distant wish, to within 15 minutes being at like 99% pretty solid that it was possible now, that she could and she would. Okay. So it took me 15 years to figure out how to do this. Okay, now I could do it in 15 minutes, but it started with sticky recurring emotions and being willing to do the forgiveness magic sheets that I offer, the daily happy maps. It was like, I am believing a lie. There's conditioning. There is a lie that I'm believing when I have a strong feeling. So this is why I forgot to tell you guys that. So if you're anywhere below love, you're believing a carbon-based memory. It is a corrupt file. So a corrupt file is not the truth. It is a file that you've taken on because you were in a situation where you just had to make something mean something that made sense. So, for example, if you were a little girl and daddy yelled at you for spilling the orange juice, there's a bit of cognitive dissonance in that moment because daddy's like the love of your life and he's on top, like he's God. You know, when we're little, parents buy everything. They feed us, they clothe us, they pay for the house, they have a car, they drive a car, they have this credit card they pay everything with. They're kind of like mysterious, you know, to us little children. Or parents are like these very powerful beings. So if if a parent yells at you because they, you know, I've yelled at my son, I've had, you know, we've all done it where we're tired and we're like, we lose it a little bit, you know. The important thing is not, it's not what happens to you, it's the meaning you assign to what happened to you. And we can't know what that is until you have a goal as an adult and you just somehow won't let yourself have the goal. You know, that's how we can reverse engineer. But so the little girl, let's say, or the little boy, they have this like, they freeze. Daddy, who's the most powerful being in her world, is yelling at her. So in this moment, of course, the ego goes, I'm not wrong. It's not my fault. But there's this conditioning, this wanting to be approved of, this wanting to be safe that comes over. And it's like, let me squish this reasoning that I'm a little girl, I'm four. Of course, I'm going to spill orange juice. I don't know how to pour orange juice into a cup. I'm little, I'm trying, I make mistakes. That reasoning is squashed. And instead, there's the conditioning and the false, the not self, like the carbon-based memory that even comes from beyond before us. That's a corrupt file that will then, it will write, well, I am wrong. Sorry. I am wrong because he can't be wrong. He can't be wrong. And if he's wrong, then no, if he's right, then it's got to be my fault. So then there's like a whole snowball that accumulates more evidence. See, I see it's my fault. I can't get anything right. Daddy's always right. I'm always wrong. And then this little girl grows up to be in her 30s and has a boss that reminds her of that same feeling she took on, that same feeling of inadequacy, that same feeling of like, no matter what I do, I mess up. And it's because that memory was like such an anchor for her when she was little. Maybe she came back from the movies, you know, maybe it was like a birthday. So that memory was so strong anchored in her subconscious, like, I mess everything up. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. Okay. It's no one's fault. It's not your parents' fault. It's not your fault. It's just that the mind cannot hold two conflicting beliefs. Either dad yelled at me and he's a really terrible person. He should never yell at a little girl who's trying to pour juice for the first time in a cup. Or, well, you know, or actually, dad is right. I'm wrong. Like you can't hold, you know, the mind can't do both. So when you have as a 30-year-old, 40-year-old, 50-year-old, a feeling that feels familiar, you always want to ask the feeling, how old are you? How old are you? And you go down to see where you are, who you're with, what's going on, and you want to talk to this little girl and reparent her, and you want to actually help her process what's happening because now the scene has changed. So imagine for this little girl, we now do the work. She comes to me, she's in her 30s, and she's like, Alex, no matter what I do, I just feel like such a loser. And we go, okay, how strong is the feeling? It's a 9 out of 10. Okay, that's strong. Where do you feel it? Right here in my throat. And then like in my chest, I just feel constricted. I'm like, okay, as the feeling, how old are you? We go down to the scene. I help her go find the scene. She doesn't need to remember this scene. She doesn't need to even, her mind is going to take her right there. It's for 10 years, everybody's always gone down to the scene. Okay, you guys, it works every time. And they go down to the scene. They see the little girl. Now we're going to change the scene because now you show up as an adult in the scene. And you hold the little girl, which at the time probably no one held her. And we speak to her. We let her tell us what's going on. So in this moment, you're doing the same exercise I mentioned about the two little girls in the back of the seat with now, we're now, oh, was that scary? Daddy yelled at you? Yeah, I mean, it's my fault. Oh, you think it's your fault? So now we're unraveling what she begun to believe at 4 or 5, which is going to free a huge piece of this puzzle for her. And the sticky recurrent feeling, I guarantee you, will go from a 9 to a 4. And she'll be like, huh. And then we can go again. So there are a few other tools that we can do. But so now we go and talk to the little girl a bit more. Oh, you really think it's your fault? And then she'll be like, I don't know. I mean, I tried to pour juice. You were trying to pour juice? Yeah, I was really thirsty and Daddy looked busy, so I didn't want to ask him. Oh, you didn't want to ask him and you were trying to do it on your own? Yeah, I was trying to be a big girl. Well, look how courageous you are. You were trying to do something and you were trying to grow up. Isn't that what Daddy would have wanted you to do? Yeah, because he's always so busy, so I know I need to learn how to do things on my own. Okay. Well, that makes you a very courageous little girl. It does? Yes. Look how strong you are. That big bottle of juice was really heavy and you only spilled a little bit. Or look, then you got a sponge and cleaned it up. Yeah, but Daddy was yelling at me. Yeah, but was Daddy having a bad day? Yeah. Was he already stressed? Yeah. Was it your fault? No. So now we just change the memory in the mind by communicating with that little girl, validating her feeling to help her have more comprehension and logic. Okay. Now, literally, this is why I love this work. This is why I do this work. And I have for so long, and I think I will forever. You guys are going to see me on Facebook when I'm like 80, and I'll probably still be sitting here in Switzerland talking about this. Hopefully, hopefully, it will be a little different though. Hopefully, it will be like you guys can just go online and just do it. But you'll have an app. Emergency, click the app. I have a sticky recurring feeling. Help. What do I do? Step one. Ask the feeling, how old are you? Okay. How old are you right now? I'm 2. Okay, go down the slide. Go down the slide. Okay, I'm going down the slide. Oh, okay, I see the scene. Okay, here's what happened. Describe the scene. Tell me what happened. You'll have my AI. I'll be a robot probably helping you through this. Okay, so this is emotional intelligence. It's emotional grit. It's like you kind of want to be a badass. You want to be like, all right, bring it on, triggers. Bring it on, strong and sticky recurring emotions. Come on. This is kind of why, you guys, I love coming to see my older sister, who's 3 years older than me, because she was my ultimate bully growing up. She was insane. She still is crazy. Um, she she's crazy. She's a manifesting generator, not to say, but you guys have like this really strong drive to get shit done. And I'm like an introvert, little here generator, peaceful Buddha. And she was like this huge personality. She's a Leo. And it was very complicated for me because I always had to be with her and I always had to do everything with her when I was growing up. So what's interesting is I can come to her now, obviously, with I don't know, I've been deconditioning for 15 years probably. And she can be the same because she hasn't changed. She's the exact same way. She can be and say these very direct, very like strong, triggering things. And I can be here and go, okay, is there anything that feels activated right now? No, I can have like this leaning back. And I've helped people do this with ex-husbands, with their kids who, like, I've had a client who no longer could speak to her daughter because of these strong emotional triggers, and they've actually healed their relationships and are close again. I've had ex-wives whose ex-husbands were really tough with them actually come around and be a lot easier to speak with and just be calm with, because if that person stays kind of difficult because they have pain and they have issues and they have their stuff, but you're really clean in your energy, well, guess what? They're going to feel, you're going to anchor their energy and actually be more present and peaceful for them. So, I don't know. Do you guys like this conversation? Yeah, cool. Awesome. All right, 25 minutes. Let's try to wrap up. I can talk about this work forever because it changed my life. The reason this work is so important to me is because it used to take me out of my intuition and my connection with spirit. My connection with spirit is like my wealth. If I can have my vertical connection to spirit and source and answers and angels and guides, and I can stay really psychic, then I can get everything that I desire. I can manifest anything. I can grow my energy to really call in what I would like to be aligned with. So if I'm triggered into a state of like anger or sadness or whatever, then I feel really powerless. There's a lot of powerlessness in that. So I have an open solar plexus in human design, which means I've done a ton of deconditioning in that era because I would feel everybody else's stuff times 100. So if I would get into an argument with somebody, I would feel their feelings and my feelings freaking amplified, which was like insane land. And I would quickly completely lose myself in their emotional waves that I'm now amplifying for them, plus feeling my feelings. So if you have an open solar, you need to do emotional intelligence work. And if you have a defined solar and it's even your authority, then I'm going to leave a post below that I wrote for Julia in a course that we're together. And it's about riding your emotional wave like a dolphin instead of riding the wave like as if you're taking like the wave is hitting you in the face. Instead, you want to ride the wave without resistance. Yeah. So where are you on the scale of consciousness? What's a sticky recurring feeling? Ask how old are you and try to go back and validate. I think I covered some really important pillars to understanding why things show up all the time. You're an emotional being, you're alive, you've had history, you've had things come up. There might be post-trauma. That's something that I talk a lot about as well. That is really important to address. Now, post-trauma, you guys, is sometimes even easier to just release than all the emotional work, because for post-trauma, it's just a brain, it's either brain spotting or tapas TAT that I offer, that I facilitate, or that I don't facilitate it. I show you how to do it for yourself. And then you can do it. And it's just like it helps your brain just release old memories that need to just be released. It's actually PTSD work is sometimes even faster than trying to align with the woman who's manifesting what you desire. That is like, you know, that's identity work, emotional intelligence work, manifesting work, aligning work. But if you have PTSD, I really recommend you do some work with that, because it will give you back focus, the ability to concentrate, the ability to hold self-esteem, the ability to have a regulated nervous system so you can have access to your intuition. Okay. All right. Let me know if you guys love this. And if you feel like it's a conversation we don't have enough of, if you feel like this is very enriching, you know, let me know. And as far as if you want more, so there's a couple ways next week. And if you're watching this after, then maybe you missed the replay, but just maybe send me a DM and I can, if it's available, I'll send you the link. I'm going to tell you about the 5 rules of feelings and why a sticky recurring feeling just points to an unhealed wound within. I kind of want to help you tap into your unhealed wounds and kind of be willing to go into the carbon-based memories and your corrupt files, because ultimately there is a space that I'm going to start talking about, that your wound is actually your wealth. As somebody who's here to share your message, if you're here as a coach, as a healer, as a therapist, as a writer, your wound is your wealth. So the things that you've gone through, actually, you're going to turn them into really, really valuable lessons and messages. That's something that's coming a little bit later. But if you get on this train now and you start to have that conversation with me now, it will make a lot more sense later when I start to talk about it with your human design. It's actually in your chart. You have specific gates and channels, and in Gene Keys and Human Designs, you have actually places where we can pick up the deconditioning needed to do where you're holding to the deepest wound, and how it all leads to your pearl sequence, which is your prosperity sequence. Okay, so the deconditioning and like kind of the softening into your human design won't be as easy unless you do this work. Okay, unless you start to have this conversation with me around your sticky recurring emotions, things like that. So keep that in mind, guys. Okay, it's you can't, I mean, everybody wants to jump into the pearl sequence and start making money, but money is energy, and money really comes to us when we can embody this sense of I own myself. I know who I am, like self-responsibility, self-leadership, knowing that if my wave is triggered, I have this very dependable, reliable system to help me through the wave really fast. So my tools, they're like the surfboard to help you, or the dolphin to help you surf that wave. So you're not like drowning. Because the problem with strong emotional waves is that people start to give them meaning. and I'll post the thing below so you guys can read it, but you start to give the wave meaning when it you shouldn't give it any meaning. You should just let it ride until you can possibly hear the narrative, which is what's the gift of the feeling, is that there's a narrative behind it. So we're going to do some retreat to treat your heart next week. If you want to join us, post something below. Your emotions are an incredible gift. Some of you may have heard this before. You may have done a ton of work on this before. I don't remember exactly what Julia said, but she said something like, I've been doing work for 10 years and nothing has ever been this effective in 15 minutes with the thing that I did for her yesterday. So I know that might scare some people. You might be like, holy crap, I don't know if I want to work with Alex, because if she can do something for me in 15 minutes that I haven't been able to do in 10 years, maybe I don't want to work with her. But at the end of the day, like, how much longer do you want to, like, you know, wait for things to come to you and for things to happen? Like, how much longer do you want to wait? Maybe this is your sign to, like, get started. So a couple ways to work with us. Yeah, next week there's the free, let me grab this little kitty cat. She wants to make an appearance. Oh, you're so cute. Cats are so healing, like just doggies and horses. I get to hug my favorite horse when I was in Provence last week. She's such a gift. Ooh, it's not, my computer has been balancing on this ledge very well, except if it gets a little windy or the cat decides to jump on it. Okay. Yes, that just gives me a little A+ experience, the hug. Yeah, so there is a way to have like these really amazing experiences to then clean out the low vibes and the sticky stuff, to really do some decluttering. I've helped a client a while back. She was on antidepressants. She was overeating quite heavily. Instead of eating one ice cream cone, she would have 7. And we did some of this work, and she was able to, with the help of her doctor, of course, stop the antidepressants. I need to check up on her to see if that's still the case after a few years. And she completely stopped overeating. So this work is really, really powerful, you guys, to kind of get back to your true self. And she did have trauma. She had some trauma. So we did hypnosis, we did trauma work, we did emotional intelligence work, and we did community work. That's something people don't talk about enough. Freaking sisterhood community is so healing. It's so needed. So needed. She got to be on the calls 3 times a week at the time. That's how often I was doing live calls, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, because I really wanted my girls to have this space where they could sit with their feelings 3 times a week inside the group, which was really, really powerful. And it just aligned with the time zones, it just worked really well. Okay, anything else I want to say? Oh, another way to do this work, radical intuition. Let me pull up the picture. Radical intuition is that system I talked about, really reliable system to just go, okay, the water's boiling, Alex. What is it that I needed to do? Click on the app. Well, it's like an actual 9-step process. You add the pasta, you add the tomato sauce, you add the olive oil, you add the salt. It's like these steps are all on there, and that's called radical intuition. And that course is $555. But if you guys want to hop into the live Sales Angel Heart Bootcamp that is starting in the next couple of weeks, you're going to get access to that course. Plus, we do incredible work for 2 months. We're going to do emotional intelligence work, just like I talked about, and then we're going to do sales alignment business work. So it's all my trainings on both the selling, the discovery calls, your business, aligning, scripting, leaping, becoming that woman who can do this work, and then who can attract that work. And then we're going to do the emotional intelligence work. We start with the energy emotional work because it really helps with the business after that. And that's right now, early bird 11/11. Okay, guys. So if you want to hop in, I'll just put the link below. It's 11/11 for probably another week, maybe a little bit less. I'm going to let you know when I end the early bird. Although I'm not the greatest at like communicating the end dates. So if you feel like, hey, I want to jump in now because she might change the price, and like I may not see the announcement that the price has changed to $15.55. Maybe just to be safe. We start in a couple weeks. We're going to go live every week. You get access to different modules and content for both, so you really see the step by step. And yes, you can absolutely, once you have a good handle on the tools, use them with your clients if you are a coach or a therapist. Everyone who's ever learned the tools from me love using it for themselves and their families and their clients. So it works for everybody. Okay, I am off to have a really peaceful, happy Saturday with my sister and my son. Her kids are coming back tomorrow, so we're gonna have a full house. And yeah. All right, guys, I'll see you guys next week. If you have any questions, you can post them below. Mwah. See you later.